now I want to talk about baseball to finish out this week's podcast. Obviously, Manfred made a big old hassle with the owners about getting the season started. I think we lost, 2 weeks?
Yep.
On the season. I'm glad it's back. No doubt about it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this personally? I mean, you're even a bigger baseball fan than I could dream of being. So,
I mean, again, it's just the last 2 or 3 years they've just lost out on opportunity when they could have been, making gains with new fans and gaining more fans in general. It's the same crap when they missed out on the opportunity when COVID hit, when they could have been pretty much the only sport coming back, and they just couldn't come to an agreement. And it wasn't necessarily about COVID stuff. It was just agreements on, between the owners and players. Look, I've always been, pro player on most of these things. There's a couple things that maybe I didn't necessarily agree with on the player side, but I'm usually pro player on this, not because I think they always need to be making more money but pro player like advocacy as far as like how they're treated, how the minor league players are treated. That was a big thing that they were pushing. And then just in general, just like how like negotiations go. I think the owners, and this has always been the case in baseball, the owners have an incredible amount of power, and you know what, they own the team, so they should have a lot of power. But some of that needs to go back into the player's hand. So these discussions that happened, and these debates back and forth were probably necessary. My problem is they just drag their feet on these things, and it's just this bureaucratic like garbage when it's just like, why didn't you guys just lock yourselves in a room for 2 weeks or a week in the middle, right after winter meetings and figure this thing out? Why does it have to be the set time period? And, just figure it out. Like, lock yourselves in a room and get it figured out. Eventually they did that, right? But it's just like, why are we dragging our feet and kicking the can down the road on all these things when it could have just been figured out beforehand? And obviously I'm not privy to the conversations and like how all that goes. And I know there's like bylaws that have to be followed and things that need to be, done on that end. But to me, it just seems like they took their sweet time and it backfired. A lot of the owners too. I mean, there's names coming out. I mean, Detroit Tigers owner sounds like a jerk now. There's a lot of owners sound like just complete jerks now because like they just absolutely were not giving any ground on anything.
Cheapskates.
Yeah, and it's just like these guys are billionaires. Like, just come on.
This
guys.
is pennies
like,
in a hat, man.
And again, look, some of these players are making hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's not like I'm trying to say but the league average salary isn't $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys are not making, some of these guys are the minor league guys are working 2 jobs in the off, a job in the off season. So these type of things, on top of the time that they have to dedicate to be a professional athlete, a professional baseball player, these type of things should have been figured out quicker. That's really my biggest problem. I think all these things were good for the game. I don't know how I feel about some of like the rule change ideas. The universal DH is smart. We don't need to see pitchers hitting anymore. That we're probably 20 years past that.
And I'm glad they got rid of the ghost runner thing too.
Yeah, the stupid extra innings thing needed to go. There's some other things that definitely needed fixing.
I just hope when they do this again in 5 years, they take your advice and do this way earlier than when spring training is.
Take care of the problem.
Yeah,
just take care of the problem.
Rip that Band-Aid off and take care of it because
right.
It's going to happen again in 5 years.
Exactly. I know, these things come up every time a new CBA needs to be signed and everything like that. But it's like, look, there's going to be more problems every time. But that's like you guys' jobs, right? That's like, and as a commissioner, that's especially his job to mediate in between, right? That's his job to get this thing figured out. And Manfred he's just not.
I miss Bud Selig sometimes.
I mean, Selig's an idiot too, but like at least
he's better than Manfred.
I mean, at least it got to a point where he was doing things right, like getting the job done on some things. The idea should be right now, push the game forward, right? Push the game out to that younger audience again. Push the game, beyond what it is right now. There is no pushing forward. to me, it just seems like we're moving backwards in some things. And you know, I understand like the pushback from the owners was like, hey, we're, you know, we lost a lot of money during COVID. Yeah, but you also, I mean, you guys have made more money than you ever have in the past like 4 years on record, right? So, sure, like you lost some gate revenue, a lot of gate revenue and concessions and things like that, but these teams still make plenty of money.
Do you think they would have been more apt to, you know, negotiate better with the players association by maybe finally setting a salary cap, or do you like that baseball doesn't have a salary cap?
I mean, I think that's a thought. I mean, the salary cap idea is just trying to level the playing field across the board, right? But what we're seeing is that teams have just been creative, one with their spending, two, to me, and there is no more small market team. It doesn't exist anymore. There's teams that spend a lot more than others, like the Yankees are always going to spend more than others. They just can, but small market teams don't exist anymore. I mean, shoot, the Rockies just gave Chris Bryant 7 years, 182.
Yeah.
Also, want to talk about a poorly run organization? Look at the Rockies. Horrible.
Yeah, but people always say like the Oakland A's and the Tampa Bay Rays. Those are small.
Those guys spend money. Those guys, they spend money. Now, some teams are smarter with their money, but like the A's have made playoff runs. The Rays won world. I mean, they've made giant playoff runs, right? It's not, the game isn't anymore, you know, spend money to win. And I think the Yankees haven't really figured that out lately. You notice they haven't. I mean, they haven't been winning. So I think I don't think it's necessary. I mean, that's the big thing. The salary cap is something where it's like, look, we want to level the playing field for everybody. So everybody's got to be within this cap, right? But I don't think that's necessary because I don't think it matters. I think it is a level playing field right now. You see the organizations that are struggling and are perennially struggling, like the Rockies, like
the Diamondbacks.
They're just poorly run organizations from the top down, right? And some of those teams have had success in, you know, the distant past. Rockies had some good teams back in the day. The Diamondbacks had some excellent teams, right? Yeah. But they either haven't adapted with some new times, or they just poorly run with poor ownership at this point. The Reds right now are just a dumpster fire. You know, I mean, there's countless examples of teams when it's just like, look, a good run organization with a good owner and a good GM, and then obviously it trickles down, you know, good manager, everything trickles down. Those are the teams that are going to win, and it doesn't really matter how much they're spending. It's just where that they're spending and how strategic they can be with it. So I don't think a salary cap in baseball is necessary. I just think, I mean, to kind of answer your question, maybe that would have pushed talks along more, but I don't know. I don't see that as being a bigger issue, the biggest issue. I mean, I think some of the player advocacy things are a bigger issue than that right now. So.
Yeah, we're just
pitch clocks. We don't need pitch clocks. Don't even get me started on pitch clocks.
You're just a pitcher, that's why.
Well, no, I don't get. Look, if you want a pitch clock when there's nobody on base, fine. But when there's people on base, we don't need a pitch clock. Like part of slowing the running game down is holding the ball.
I can compromise. I was going to say I can compromise.
Like that. That's fine. If you want to, I'm all for getting the ball and throwing it. Like, you know, when there's nobody on base. I mean, because what else are you doing? Like, what else can you be doing?
Saying no to your catcher's signs.
Yeah, but you can still do that in the 15, 20 seconds that they're giving you. Like, come on.
Yeah.
When there's runners on base, it shouldn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, it's part of the mind game that you play with some of the runners on base. Makes sense, but
exactly, it's part of the game. It doesn't need to be.
There's such an underrated strategy that people that don't really love baseball don't really understand. So people have such a short attention span and a short fuse for the game when it seems so slow, and we're used to basketball and hockey and football where the ball's almost constant.
Here's the thing: that's not going to speed up the game either. You want to. There's other things that you can speed up the game. You want to speed up the game? Stop with so many stupid commercials. You want to speed up the game? You want to speed up the game. I mean, I don't know. There's other ways to speed up the game, but to me, the game it's going to be a 3-hour game. Just plan on it being 3 hours. That's how it works. Like, it's just, that is what it is. No one
There's been a
complains
couple that are 2 hours and
3
20 minutes, and maybe you're happy. But
Right.
like,
And then sometimes it's super quick. You know what I mean? Like some games are quick.
yeah,
But
one,
like,
two,
why are
three.
we? And here's the thing. Here's my other thing. Why is it everything? We need to speed up this game. Why don't we improve the ballpark experience? Why don't we make people want to come out to these games, right? To watch them. Like if I'm at a game, I want it to last 5 hours.
Yeah, I want to get my money's worth. Fans pay for
Exactly.
that.
Right. If I'm at a game, I want it to be like 15 innings and I want to be there all day. Right.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting at home, I mean, I don't care, but I mean, I don't think they're losing fans because of the speed of the game. I think they're losing fans because the experience at the ballpark is too expensive. One, I mean, water is $15. Like, no one wants to go.
Yeah.
And
And
two,
especially when there's 162 games in a year and 81 home games, like
right.
you don't need to charge that much. It should be half the cost of a football game, really.
No, I don't see their margins. Like, I have no idea what their margins are. I have no idea.
They're still making money. They're not in the
Making
red.
plenty of money. I promise you, they're making plenty of money based off their advertisements alone.
Yeah.
I'm sure to fund a ballpark is a crap load of money. I guarantee it. But I don't understand. Like, you want to make it better for fans, improve the ballpark experience by cutting down the cost of stuff. I'm not saying you can't charge them for things, but like the cool stuff around ballparks too. Like some of these ballparks are awesome now, like with the restaurants in there, and like the cool box suite seats.
And 1 o'clock games on a Thursday, don't expect to sell tickets.
Right. So
People
improve the
have to
experience. So cool. Here's the thing: if you're not gonna sell tickets, up the price of everything on Thursday then for the people that go there.
Yeah.
But then on a weekend when you're sold out, a beer shouldn't be $15-$20. You know what I mean? Like adjusted on that. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that can be improved, but to me, speed of the game is not the problem. Yeah, there's times when it just gets kind of monotonous and it's just like, why do we need another pitching change or why do we need another, catcher visit or whatever? That's part of the game. And if I'm at the game, I don't care. If I'm watching on TV, me personally, I don't care. But then we can get into the TV problem too with blackout rules and things like that. We can go into that too at some point, but that's the whole different thing. But like, again, they're just missing, and this is the commissioner's problem, and he's not the only one, but they're just missing the bigger problems. And they're like, to me, they're like going after problems that aren't really the problem. Maybe they're like a byproduct of the bigger issue, right? So maybe they're things that they're hearing from some people who aren't really fans or aren't really the core of their fans. And if they just fix something bigger, then it doesn't matter if the game is slower, right? People come out and watch soccer matches that are 0-0 and they'll be out there for 3 hours. And those fans are nuts out over in Europe and in the United States. The fans are crazy, right? Because they're enjoying being there, right? And the experience is fun. So make the experience more fun at a ballpark.
I think part of the experience suffers a little bit too in baseball is we're not far removed from probably 80% of baseball stadiums being 40,000 plus on a regular basis. It almost seemed like every attendance for a long time, especially in like the early 2000s to like probably 2012, it was pretty common to have 40,000 plus fans, and especially in weekend games. Yeah. So, I think part of it is you have a better experience when there are a bunch of people there, like showing energy and stuff. Like you feed off a crowd, basically, even if you're just one person. Like most people are going to feed off a crowd and be like, I want to go back. I want to feel that again. And that's why football games sell so much, because there's a limited amount of football games a year. There's not 81 first off, but I think that those games are always full. Like you're not going to have, you go to a Whitecaps game and you're like one of 2,000 people there, and no, the wave's not going to happen. It's just not going to be super fun. But the Whitecaps are fun because there's $6 for a ticket. It doesn't hurt your feelings.
So they switch it, right? So they do it where they cut the price down, right? And one, they know you're watching. Your hope is that you maybe go watch like a big leaguer on a rehab assignment, or like a future big league guy, right? That's what you want.
Yeah, when I got to watch Nico Goodrum with the Toledo.
Yeah, I mean the future. I mean that's the hope when you go to a minor league baseball game, right? But the problem is when you go to a major league baseball game, you're spending $55-$60 a ticket, right? That's the same as much, or sometimes more, sometimes a little less, just depends, right? Depends on the team. But for a big series on a weekend, you're going to spend a lot of money, right? You're going to spend
Yeah.
a lot of money at the ballpark, right? For beverages or for food or whatever, right? And it's just one of those things where, to me, you got to find a way to, even if the team stinks, right? Or even if the game itself just has to be like the reason you're going, but like you're really going for like everything else at the game, in my opinion. That's the way you have to look at it. And that's why like some of these owners have to look at it. Perfect example. I mean, this is overkill, like the Growlers, right? In Kalamazoo, like perfect example. This is overkill and it doesn't need to be this far, right? But this is a summer collegiate team, right? And literally their entire business model is based off of the ballpark experience. They could give, I mean, look, they care if their team is good, right? And they want their team to be good, but they also understand their team's gonna be different every single year. So sometimes they're gonna have a really good team, sometimes they might not have as good a team. And they're all college kids. Mm-hmm. And the team changes throughout the whole summer because kids are leaving, coming, whatever. So the idea is, hey, let's just make this a fun experience for the fans. So the fans are coming first, right? And the players are just out there playing a game. Mm-hmm. Right. It's almost at times overkill to where the game is secondary. Now, I never wanted to get that far, right? But it's like you got to find that fine balance where it's just like the ballpark experience needs to be one of the big reasons you're even going to the game.
Is it more player interaction? People want to see their favorite players and they want to throw a ball like football.
Yeah, there's some of that. I mean, I think there's some of that, and some of that's probably on the players to an extent. So, but I think most of the players want that. It's different though. It is harder with that because it's like, hey, these guys, this is their job. So it's a little bit different than some college kids hanging out in a Midwest town for the summer, right?
Yeah.
But this is their legitimate job. So it's just like, there's a little bit of a different there, a professionalism that changes, I guess. But yeah, is it player interaction? Is it more of that? Player interaction with fans? Is it just fan experience in the stands, like what they're provided? Is it, I don't know, just fan engagement in general? I don't really know what the answer is, but I know there's ways to be better, because you can go to a Tigers game right now and when they open up, and it'll be really fun for opening day because everybody will be excited for opening day or the first couple weekend series. And if the Tigers stumble out of the gate a little bit and stink, right? Which
could happen.
Any team could happen to any team, right? I mean, if they stumble out of the gate a little bit, suddenly the fans will stop showing up, the ballpark won't be as rowdy, and then suddenly the games kind of stink and they're not as fun to go to just because there's not as many people around. And that you got to be able to get around that. And I know every ballpark's trying to do that, but to me, the smart team would find a way to be like, look, you come to the game. Yeah, I mean, our team's lost 100 games this year, but you're still going to have a lot of fun, and we can still probably charge you a little bit more if they really want to make that money. We'll still probably charge you a little bit more because you're going to have a lot of fun at the game. Mm-hmm. And maybe you're going to leave and you're not going to remember the score of the game because you don't care about the game in the end. Right.
That's true.
I'm not saying that I want that. Like I mean, it's cool. Like as a baseball fan, I would never want anything to take away from the game itself. But I think you got to look at it, if you're an organization, from that standpoint, as maybe we need to tailor the fan experience beyond just the baseball game. Because like good teams don't need to worry about that. Right. So like if you're a team that's going to win 100 games that year, I mean, the tickets sell themselves. But a struggling team, or a team, perfect example in the Tigers situation right now, where it's like, hey, they're up and coming, but maybe they're still another year away. Like those are the teams where it's like, you got to find a way to do that. And I think the whole MLB needs to find a way to do that, because then they're going to get more fans, get more people in the ballpark. Perfect way they used to do it is teams would used to do ladies' days back in like the 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. They would invite moms out to the ballpark on Sundays, right? And then the moms would bring your kids, and the kids became baseball fans. And like, it was just big, and moms got in like half off or free or something crazy, right? Obviously you can't do that now to that extent, but like that got more fans in the ballpark, and that made more baseball fans. And then those people came back when they had the kids, and it just became a big thing, right? And that's the 40s and the 50s. And then that's America's pastime. That's where how it became that. But we've lost that. And I think, the advent of the NFL and the NBA is bigger, soccer is bigger, all that takes away from it a little bit, but it's not, Yeah, they're just missing. There's missing something, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's dying, but it's just missing something.
I mean, the sport isn't dying. The sport for people that love baseball is just as exciting as it's always been. The problem is
It's
a
not
lot of
more
fans,
exciting. Yeah.
but a lot of the fans, like you talked about, because they grew up in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they're
Mhm.
starting to die. They are starting to die. The people are starting to die
Right.
because they're 70, 80 years old. So like that makes sense. You have to try to figure out a way to establish or work with or interact with younger fans and try to rebuild
Mhm.
that again. But the problem is there's not the stay-at-home moms anymore. It's just a different society. So
Yeah.
they have to brainstorm something, but that's what people get paid for in public relations. They have to be able to figure this stuff out.
Mhm. Yep. And I think they're doing a pretty poor job at it right now. And delaying a season is not helping because you're already not going to gain any more fans if you delay a season, right? And go through all this negotiation garbage and have problems and be in the headlines for stupid stuff. And now you're ostracizing the fans you do have, and you're pissing off, fans like myself and
Yeah.
yourself and everybody. You know what I mean? Like now you're just frustrating the fans that you do have, and like not that I'm ever going to go away, but it's just some people might.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure they probably lost a couple from this, but it's just like real baseball fans are just baseball fans because they like
yeah.
the strategy of the sport. I think is really cool and underrated. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think this is a good conversation, and I think next week or next couple of weeks we will do our opening day predictions for our teams, the White Sox and the Tigers, and then we have how we have the ringer Don from the Bus Guard group that can talk about basketball with us any given time. We have a guy that works the Bus Guard group, Blake, that is as big of a baseball fan as you are, Ben, and so it may be interesting to have him do a Major League Baseball preview like we've had Don come on for NBA. So that is something we'll look at doing down the road here. And then we'll do more mock draft stuff coming up. Obviously, we'll probably do a Sweet 16 preview the next time we see you. And then this is also the last time we will see you in that specific square. You will not be in that square anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
You'll find a new square to sit in.
We'll see how quickly we move out though, because we're not gonna officially move this weekend,
Okay.
but we'll see. I don't know.
Well, I will see you this weekend regardless. I am working part of the day on Saturday, but I will come down after that, and it'll be a good time and talk more sports in person about that. And then until then, we'll see our 6'3", loyal 63, 6'3" fans the next time.